A very good morning, dear students. After completing the book Hornbill, we are going to begin next snapshot book, and today we are going to revise the summary of the chapter, the address. Now you will have to listen it very carefully. After ringing the doorbell of Mrs. Dorling, who lived at number 46 Marconi Street, the protagonist, the author, was given a cold reception, and Mrs. Dorling took much time to recognize her. Mrs. Dorling had thought everyone in the protagonist's family was dead and asked if anyone else had come along with her. Now, Mrs. Dorling refused to let the protagonist inside her home. उसको घर आने से मना कर दिया and told her to come back sometime later. Now, the protagonist recognized her mother's green cardigan which Mrs. Dorling was wearing, and she decided to go back to the train station and thought about her mother and how she told her about Mrs. Dorling, who was an acquaintance of hers. Okay, acquaintance means she was known to her. उसको अच्छे से जानती थी उसकी mother Mrs. Dorling को. Now, during the war, Mrs. Dorling would visit their house and take their possessions with her, as she didn't want them to get lost if they ever left the place. Now, Mrs. Dorling, she had brought back. The protagonist decided to go to Mrs. Dorling's home to get back their belongings. कि जो जो चीज़ें उनसे रिलेट करती थी वो सारी चीज़ें मिसेस डॉलिंग से वो लेने के लिए वापस डिसाइड किया उसने जाने के लिए. And when she rang the bell, Mrs. Dorling's daughter answered the door. She let her in. Okay, Mrs. Dorling, earlier she refused to let her in. Okay, but this time her daughter, okay, she let her in and asked her to wait in the living room. And when they were crossing the passage, the protagonist noticed their Hanukkah candle stand that they had never used because it had been unmanageable. And when she reached the living room, she was horrified as she saw all her mother things that were arranged in a tasteless manner. Now the furniture was ugly. The room had a muggy smell, and it made her disinterested and she wanted to leave the place. Okay, means now the protagonist, she was not thinking about all her belongings. Mrs. Dorling's daughter offered her a cup of tea, and the protagonist noticed the old tablecloth that had a burn mark on it. When the girl was showing her the silver fork and the spoons that actually belonged to the protagonist, she jumped up and walked out of the house. And she decided not to take the things back, and she decided not to visit the place again, as it brought back memories of the past, and hence she decided to forget the address 46 Marconi Street. Okay, so this was the summary of the chapter, the address. Now you have to reread the chapter carefully and learn all the important facts given in this chapter. Thank you.